Why don't we, in fact, welcome the first of the Epson team. We're going to be throwing to a live demo on the Epson stand very shortly. But for now, to set the scene for us, maybe, and take us into the world of Epson and the context in which the Colorworks C8000 exists, please show a PPMA show 2024. Welcome, put your hands together, for Gavin Thurston. Come on up, Gavin. Woo! There we go.
Thank you.
No smoke, no fireworks,
Okay.
a rumbling of music, but a very warm round of applause for a Wednesday afternoon.
Pretty good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. How's your PPMA show been so far?
Absolutely fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, brilliant day yesterday, really busy day today, so yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic. Right. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and saying great words about PPMA show. That's your photo behind us on the screen, but more importantly, perhaps, is this piece of equipment that you're very keen to chat to us about. First of all, set the scene for us. Set the scene at Epson, which is, of course, a very well-known brand on the consumer-facing side, as well as within this industry. Set the scene for Epson and set the scene around where this product starts to fit into your portfolio and indeed to your customers' workflows.
Okay, yeah, so the Colorworks range has been in the marketplace now for just over 10 years. It started with a smaller device, which was very prevalent in the pharmaceutical sector, and branched out into other areas such as manufacturing, chemical, and right across sort of everything that PPMA touches, really. So it kind of made sense for us to be here at the PPMA. At the PPMA show. I believe we've been exhibiting here for around about 8 years. I joined Epson just over 6 years ago. The PPMA was my first ever show.
Oh, really?
I've developed a kind of love for the show as well. So yeah, and Colorworks has grown and grown over that period of time. We now have quite an extensive range of products across the range.
Before we go to the demo with your colleague on the stand, I think you've got one or two little slides that you want to chat us through, just to give us a bit more context, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. So, having worked for my second Japanese company now, one theme has always remained in place, and that is constant improvement. So, we've led the market with the product's predecessor, the C8000e, and essentially, rather than rest on our laurels, we've listened to the feedback from our customers very, very closely, and right throughout the development process of this product, we have implemented a lot of those improvements. Can you hear me still? Yes, very good. So it expands on our market coverage. We now have more media options available. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that in a later slide. It has a more stylish, a more compact and modern design. And it combines high-speed control and flexibility with high-quality, on-demand color labeling. So that's what we're all about. It's about printing what you need when you need it. So this was the existing product range, which I referred to earlier on, and the 7500 and the 7500G were the predecessor to the new Colorworks C8000. So the two sort of lighter grey products at the bottom left there effectively are our desktop, what we describe as our desktop printers, and the machines to the right of there are our industrial printers. So these are the main points that our users were asking us for. Firstly, they wanted a lower cost per label. It's always going to be about cost, and that drives a lot of the conversations we have. So in answer to that, we moved from a 300 milliliter ink tank to a more cost-effective 480 milliliter ink tank, which reduces ink usage in the maintenance. So we don't have to swap cartridges as often. It's a lot more convenient for that, which brings me on to my next point about less user intervention. So the less time that you're swapping cartridges, the more time you can leave the printer to get on with the job uninterrupted. But as a side product of that, and being a Japanese company always wanting to be as sustainable as possible, the new ink pack system is a bag rather than a piece of plastic. So effectively what you've got there is around about 17% of the volume within that pack than you used to have in the cartridge. So it's less to manufacture, and you're using less resource to manufacture, but of course there's a lot less waste at the end of the day as well, which is all good for the environment. Improving on the best in class again. So people wanted to see improvements on image quality. So we have changed the ink formulation slightly for sharper images, okay? So you can, there is actually a specific version of the model which allows for much deeper, more saturated blacks, which were demanded by our customers. So this, once again, is us listening to, you know, our existing customers, but also people who were looking to invest in Colorworks. Upgraded label handling as well. So we now are able to have even more sizes and shapes of labels go through our printer because we've added an extra sensor within the process as well. Speed of first label out. So we have a reduced warm-up time. The first label out on this printer now enables it to almost be a one-by-one printer. So you could print one label of one type and then send another job to the printer immediately, and it will very quickly be able to change and print that label out. So it's far more responsive. It has reduced ink head maintenance. Being an inkjet printer, every now and again, you've got to clean through the print nozzles. Yep. So, so there's less of that going on now, and that means that the printer is almost always ready for a print job when you send the print job to it. Other improvements are ease and convenience of use. So some of the parts on the C8000e, whilst it wasn't massively difficult to get to, people wanted things to be even easier to access. So things like loading the label rolls, putting the new ink cartridges in and maintenance boxes in, and controlling the printer from the panel on the front of it. So everything now is front operation. It's got an LCD screen, and it has all of that front loading. And the media options now, you can go down, as I mentioned earlier, to 1 inch, and there are more shapes and sizes of label available. Can more advanced color matching be incorporated? So I'm thinking now of a tools manufacturer, like they make drills and various other sort of DIY tools, and they had a logo which was a lot of block kind of ink. So effectively, on the previous model, what they wanted to do was exactly match their logo.
So it was on brand.
It was like a Pantone reference on brand, precisely, David, thank you. So, so what we have there is now the ability to not only color match using spot color, which you could do before, but you can now incorporate ICC profiling into the process. And you can create an ICC profile for this device for your color using the screen that you're looking at. And it incorporates all of those elements so that you can then more accurately match the color at the end of the day.
Yep.
That customer, incidentally, has already ordered 2 of these devices on the strength of that. So improved connectivity. We've got some really easy sort of plug and play options for this device. So you can see there that we've got I/O, we have optional Wi-Fi, there's USB, and there's Ethernet connectors.
I can see a good old-fashioned USB Type B connector there in between the Ethernet and
you'll
the USB-A.
even going back even further than that, to the right of it, you'll see a serial. It's actually serial.
Oh, is it?
Connector,
okay.
Yeah, slightly smaller than the old parallel.
Right.
That's a term I haven't heard for quite a few years. So, but the serial is actually used quite often in robotics. So, so where you have I/O, so input/output. That machine can be controlled, or vice versa, that printer can control the robot.
And I guess the point there is interoperability.
Indeed.
If you were like Apple and say, we're going to stick a USB-C, one single USB-C port in the side of this laptop, then brilliant, that's great for Apple, but sucks for everything you might want to integrate with that laptop.
Indeed.
That's not a play you can make if you want this to integrate into a variety of different environments.
Absolutely, yeah, completely, David. And going on that, you can see the Apple logo there. So there are SDKs available, software development kits available for iOS and Android. So you can develop solutions where you can just send a job from your tablet or your phone, and it will happily go up to the cloud and then print and come back down. If you did want to, and an increasing amount of customers are looking at replacing thermal monochrome solutions with full color solutions on demand, it's fully ZPL2 compatible. So you can kind of unplug a thermal printer and plug this straight in and it will print.
Unplug and play.
Unplug
as
and
they sort of say.
Indeed,
okay.
Indeed. So also, with ERP software, this becomes an issue as well if you don't have ZPL2 compatibility. And on that subject as well, we have ERP direct printing. So if you do want to integrate ERP systems, for example, SAP, then the ABAP drivers make that very easy to do. And we have Windows, Mac, and Linux drivers as standard. That's gone back to the start. So I think my next slide was going to be the handover possibly to the live demo, but David?
Well, in which case, if we can see this in action, then let's do that. Can we just check if the camera feed? It is indeed, in which case, Graham is there, microphone in hand, Colorworks C8000e to his side. Graham, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. The technology works. It's like the Eurovision, but it works, and there's a lot less lag. Fantastic. All right, then. Well, in that case, Graham, we've just been hearing from Gavin and seeing a few slides here about the theory about where the Colorworks C8000e fits in, its interoperability and so on. He's been making some lofty claims, I'm not going to lie, about the capabilities of this machine. You're there to put some butter on that toast and show us it worked for real, yeah?
Thank you to my colleague Gavin for his introduction there to the new Colorworks C8000e, which you can see to my left. This is, as Gavin's explained, the successor product to our C7500 series unit, which has been very popular in the market for the best part of a decade now. You don't know where the time goes sometimes, but it has been that long. Epson are always very keen to build on experience of previous models and improve and refine the technology and respond to customer feedback. And this printer has been the culmination of the efforts to meet those demands over the past sort of few years. So what I'd like to show you to start with is the party piece of the product. It always has been the party piece of this sort of printer in the range, which is the speed at which this can print labels. That's what everyone wants to do with it. That's what everyone wants to see. So I'm going to just press our button here and you'll be able to see some labels come out at very high speed. Now the speed of this printer is a foot of print a second, so 12 inches per second. It doesn't print slower than that. It doesn't need to print slower than that. It prints at full quality at that speed all the time, all day long. So this printer really is aimed at industrial applications where thousands, tens of thousands of labels are required every day. It's more than capable of meeting those demands, and that makes it the range-topping unit that we have on the Colorworks bench or range of printers. I'll keep pressing the button so you can keep seeing it printing a few different designs. Yeah. And once we've seen it print them, I'll show you a bit more about the mechanics of the printer and what we've changed, leading on from Gavin's presentation. So what we've got there is some varying colour and designs of labels coming out. These are at 600 by 1200 DPI resolution, which is near photo quality realistically. With the printer today, we're showing a high-quality matte polypropylene label, but the printer is more than capable of printing on a wide range of label media, including high-gloss poly, high-gloss paper, matte papers, even transparent synthetic materials if required. So looking at how the printer prints, I can start taking the printer apart a little bit now without worrying about interfering the demo. Some things we've changed from the 7500 series. On the old printer, the operator may have had to go around to the front of the printer here to change settings and change ink cartridges, and then they'd have had to have come round to this side of the printer to change the media. So what we've done now is make everything accessible through one side of the product. So we have the operator panel here, which give details on ink cartridge, media level, and the maintenance cartridge supplies, and your control panel for changing printer settings and forwarding and reversing media is all accessible through the multifunction display, including some easy to see status lights across the top here that will be easy to see across a room in a warehouse environment to make sure that the printer is ready to print. We also have the ink cartridge and maintenance cartridge replacement door on this side of the printer, as well as the media roll replacement bay is on this side as well. So realistically, the only other side of the printer the operator's going to need to get to at any time is the back of the printer here, which is obviously where you connect the power and your various different interfaces. So we have the Ethernet, the USB 3 high-speed USB, the external interface port, which is a 25-pin serial port for connecting external devices such as applicators or robots if you want to automate the printer. And then the sharp-eyed amongst you will have noticed there's also a USB-A port here. That is actually an optional interface for, an interface for an optional accessory, which is a Wi-Fi dongle. So you can have this printer Wi-Fi connected, which is something you couldn't do with the previous model, which kind of builds into what Gavin was mentioning about us having access to Android and iOS software development kits on this product. It now means that we can interface it with mobile and cloud-based technologies, which wasn't really an option on the previous model. So coming back round to the front, one of the big points that Gavin made about this unit now is that we have done away with traditional plastic ink cartridges. So the previous model had fairly high capacity 300 milliliter cartridges which would plug into the front of the unit. We are now using Epson's RIPS technology, that is RIPS, and that stands for Replaceable Ink Pack System. So instead of plastic cartridges, we now have these bags of ink. And whereas the previous model had 300 milliliter capacity cartridges, these are now 480 milliliter capacity bags of ink. That means less downtime for the users, more labels per set of inks, and less packaging and less waste when you get rid of the cartridges at the end. And they're easy to replace. They all just slot into these sections here, as does the maintenance cartridge, which is where the printer puts any ink that it uses during cleaning of the print heads. So that slots in like so. The label media goes in here. Because I've only got one hand, I'm not going to take all the labels out and show you how they go in, but it's effectively the same principle as the previous model. So you literally just take the side panel off, reverse the labels from the printer, and then put the label roll back in and feed them back into the printer. You can see on the top here of the media in feed, we have a label guide that's very similar to the previous model. However, what we have changed, which it's not very easy to see on a camera, but we now have a movable media sensor, which was not there in the previous model. And that allows us to use not only rectangular or square labels, but also shaped labels such as circular or unusual shaped media by moving the sensor around. Going back to the inks and the print head side of things and the print quality the printer has, this product still uses our Precision Core proprietary print head system. We call it our line head, which means that instead of a traditional serial print head that shuttles from side to side, the print head is the width of the media, and it allows the media to just fly underneath the print head at full speed, and the ink is put down in one hit. That print head is an integrated part of this product and is designed to last the life of the printer. We also cover that print head with the printer's on-site next business day warranty, which is something quite unique to Epson products in the market. So if I just close down the side panel and unpause the printer, you'll notice that we are printing here roll to roll, so we have our optional rewinder at the front of the unit. This is an Epson manufactured rewind unit, which you can have with the printer if you want it, if you need to be able to rewind labels onto a roll, but you don't have to. So I will end my live demonstration just with a last print so that you can see the speed of this printer again, and hopefully that has given you some insight into what the C8000 is capable of.
Graham, excellent stuff. Thank you so much for chatting us through the printer in such detail. I tell you what, why don't you pop that microphone down and leg it over to the stage here, to the live demonstration theatre. Join Gavin on the seat here so we can pop some questions to you. We've got a pretty full auditorium here. I've got some questions that I've been jotting down, and maybe we'll be able to put some of those to you as well. Gavin, good demo from your colleague there. I want to ask you to sharpen your pencils for some questions as well. I'm just going to pop a couple that I've noted here. Those pouches, so I can understand the benefit there, much lighter weight packaging and so on. I just wonder about the practicality of transporting those pouches, because when you've got your ink in a cartridge where there's some robustness to it, if it does take a little bit of a battering in transit, you know, working its way across the machine floor or being sent in the post or whatever it is, it can handle that. Those pouches, what can you say to reassure me that there's not going to be some wastage as a result of the fragility of those pouches, for example?
Very much tried and tested technology, David. This RIP system has been operating on our workforce printers, so the big office paper mill printers that are capable of high volumes of A4 paper in documents. And the RIP system's been used in that environment for probably 3 or 4 years now in total. So we've been packaging and shipping those RIPS packages for a long period of time.
You worry me when you call them ripped packages.
RIPS,
not going to lie.
RIPS, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then another thing there, we were talking a lot about connectivity of the printers, obviously. What about centralized alerting? So, for example, when we are reaching the point at which one of those pouches is beginning to run low on ink, or maybe when the heads need some maintenance, or your printer potty, as I'm used to calling them from the consumer end devices, needs emptying, the maintenance cartridge, what centralized reporting capabilities do you have to ensure that I don't need to be stood by the printer manually operating it to see that some intervention is going to be required shortly?
Yeah, sure. I think maybe that's a good question for you there, Graham.
Welcome back, Graham. Thank you very much for joining us on the theatre as well.
No problem. So there are some centralised systems within the printer. It has an internal web service or internal web page where you can set up alerts for that sort of thing. But we also, in the broader Epson product catalogue, we have a service we call Port, which is basically almost like a cloud-based monitoring package that reports on status, ink consumption, costing of any enabled product on your network. And the C8000e has been added to that process, so you can effectively monitor your estate of Epson products, including the C8000, via that service.
Okay.
So that's basically how we would approach that kind of maintenance requirement or whatever.
And I'm sure some other platforms would enable some sort of integration, so they didn't have to be watching an Epson web page or something like that, be able to integrate into more of an overall...
APIs that allow you to integrate that sort of thing, yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll just look around the room. Does anyone have any questions for Graham and Gavin based upon the conversation we've been having so far? If so, then we've got a microphone around here. You're nodding as though you're either really satisfied with what you're seeing or you've got a question. It's the best presentation. Yeah, okay. Best presentation we've ever seen. Well,
checks in the post.
It was very good. It was very good. Any more questions, comments, controversial opinions? They're all very welcome here. No, in which case, let me pop on with another couple of questions here. In terms of integration with a broader production line there, you mentioned at the end there the label attachment accessory, the rewinder and so on. In terms of the broader integration piece with, when you are labeling onto products, what story can you tell us there to, again, reassure us that it's going to fit with whatever else we may or may not have on our machine room floor at the moment?
Wow, how long have you got?
About 45 seconds for that answer, please, Gavin.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
We also have some fantastic demonstrations on our stand of our Epson robots actually applying labels, so picking them off the printer and applying them onto packages. But yeah, because you're rolling up onto a core with the rewinder specifically, then that core can be taken off with the labels on it and put on an applicator device very easily. Various core sizes can be used, and yeah, it's quite an easy integration package and already used in many environments.
Okay.
For that purpose.
I know it's not mean time between failure, but you mentioned that the print heads that go across the width of the output there, that's kind of a key differentiator from some lower end models that we might see. They last the lifetime of the printer itself, but they still need to go through some sort of maintenance, some sort of cleaning every now and then. What sort of time span are you talking about, the mean time between head cleaning cycles, if you like?
The printer has intelligent monitoring of its own print head.
Okay.
So it will detect if there are nozzles that are blocked or failed, and it will take steps itself to correct that problem. You can configure within the software parameters or a window in which you want that function to happen. So if you want to reduce that happening during print time, you can make steps to do that.
So a quiet time between shifts,
exactly,
or
that sort of thing. Yeah, you can program a between shift clean or whatever. But by and large, the printer will make its own mind up about when it needs to clean the print head and what sort of length of time it needs to spend doing that.
And is that automatic without any user intervention? So, for example, that in between shift clean, it will just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, or you can schedule it via the software, so you can say I'll do it between these hours and these hours or whatever. But yes, it's fairly easy to decide how you want it to do that process.
Okay. Well, we are reaching the top of the hour, so final call for any questions from those of you who are watching today. No, you've answered all of the questions, gents. Well done. I'll just throw it to you for AOB. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned during the course of the conversation, the slides or the demo, that you would like to float out there to our viewers today and our audience here? And if not, then where can people find out more, whether they're here at PPMA Show 2024 or maybe they're watching online?
Yeah, by all means, we're on stand A52, so please come and have a chat with us there. We're ready to take your questions there.
And some popcorn.
Oh yes, and some popcorn. Don't forget, there's some personalised popcorn. Not the individual bits of popcorn, but the packaging that it comes in. Before Graham goes ahead, my key takeaway is the best just got better, essentially, David.
The best got better. Your marketing team will be beaming from ear to ear.
There we go.
Anything from you on that?
Well, the tagline at the top right there is important to us, really. Do labels differently. We're quite passionate about people doing labels differently, and this is our next step into putting people down that route and getting them to understand the benefits of printing, doing it yourself in-house, making your whole presentation of your product as good as it can be. So,
Well, thank you for making your presentation of your product as good as it could be, Gavin and Graham. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the Epson team, Gavin and Graham.